E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories, broadcasting and live streaming to millions of devices around the world, including Roku, and live streaming to Facebook Live. Also on Amazon Fire TV and to Twitch. Also Android TV and Periscope. Broadcasting to Apple TV and YouTube Live. Proudly brought to you by our host, Donna, producer and host, Michaela Vidal, host and administrator, and Jim Grant, producer and host. Proudly brought to you by the 6minutewebinar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. Jim, it's Tuesday, and this is our week about skills for teens. And today it's about tax matters.
Don't you just love taxes? I mean, you know what I mean?
No, not so much.
Before we get into that, let's have a little fun because the day is Tuesday. I just unplugged my cord here. I apologize. I just got all excited there and just yanked all the cords out.
From under his own self.
That's right. I did it all by myself. I didn't need any help. But today, March the 22nd, this is the National Goof Off Day. So this is my day. When I pull the wrong switches and push the wrong buttons and all that, this is my National Goof Off Day. We do that practically a little bit every day, don't we?
We really do. It's important for us to goof off and have lots of fun.
Yeah, we don't know the difference. That's the main thing. We just do not know the difference whatsoever. And today is also World Water Day. Very important day worldwide for the environment, for us to, respect the fact that clean water is a necessity.
Right. And understand that not everybody has clean water, Jim.
Yeah, we spoke on a summit about that, didn't we?
We sure did in India. And
yes,
it was heartbreaking, literally, to hear that in some of these places, super rural, that women would walk for miles, and I mean miles, to get water, and they would put a rag in muddy water
and squeeze it.
And squeeze the water out. And obviously that water is not really clean.
Yeah. Places like that, you almost have to boil your water before you drink it. I mean, it's almost a necessity there.
Absolutely.
And it's really important because like Donna says, we were on that summit. We learned a lot. We did not realize how spoiled. If you got, running water in your house and all that stuff, you are spoiled. These poor, especially the women over there, they're usually the water gatherers there. And that is, my goodness, I tip my hat to them. And also today, another thing very important to us is this is the day for National Agriculture Day.
We like to eat.
Yes, we do. And we need to give a shout out to farmers out there everywhere, because I'll tell you right now, growing up on a farm, long hours and a lot of sweat.
Yep.
I mean,
and some years are better than other years.
Oh, yeah. That's just the way that world turns. So all the farmers out there, farmers, I like it.
Ranchers, all of you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I love it when they talk about, daylight saving times for the farmers. The farmers don't pay any attention to a mechanical device. They pay attention to the weather, the moon, the sun, all those good things.
Well, they're up before sun up and they go to bed long after sundown. So, what difference does that make?
Yeah, really. Exactly. And to all the farmers out there, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And without you, we'd be starving to death. Let's be honest. I mean, ranchers and farmers and all that, my goodness. And oh my goodness, when I saw this, I thought of Donna. Donna, this is the day that you can feel as young as you want to feel. This is as young as you feel day.
I love that. It's awesome. Some days I
Mhm.
feel like I'm about 8 years old.
Mhm.
Other days I'm in my 20s. And then there's those days where, got those aches and pains, and I feel like I'm about 559 years old.
What'd she say?
Yeah, I tell you, it's kind of like, the old saying, when it comes to your age, you're just as old as you stink.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it's a lot of it has to do with your mind. Let's
Yes,
be honest,
ma'am. Hmm.
right?
Sure does.
And keeping yourself young starts literally between your ears.
Yes, ma'am. That's kind of like I did a play on words there. You just always you stink because Zig Ziglar talked a lot about clean up the stinking of your thinking. And
Right.
he was right on about that. He really was. I always loved Zig, his wonderful sense of humor and all. He was something else. And today is also the American Diabetes Association Alert Day.
Oh,
Because
that's near
diabetes,
and dear to my heart.
that's a horrible disease to have. I mean, I've got relatives die from that, and
Same.
it's a bad thing. And the more we learn about these things, the more we can prepare our life. And nowadays we've got information to teach us how to live healthier, how to live longer, and how to avoid some of the pitfalls. Because being a kid in the 50s and the teenagers in the 60s, all the food that I brought up on and loved is now it's bad for you. You can't eat that. You
Right.
know.
Well, I still believe, and I will always believe this, Jim, that it's okay to have a treat and a
Mm,
little indulgence. But the
mm.
difference is you cannot live there.
Yes, yes. Just treat yourself and then go on. Yeah, you're exactly right. Because I tell you, growing up there in the South, I mean, getting a moon pie and an ROC cola, oh my goodness.
You know what I've been hungry for, and my husband has never had it.
What's that?
So I'm pretty sure you probably had it. It's called new potatoes and peas in kind of a white sauce.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that's good, good
One of my
eating
aunts
right
used to
there.
make that. Yeah. Mm,
Hmm.
it's good eatings there. I mean, I tell
Hmm.
you, it's just amazing all the wonderful dishes that we grew up on, we loved, and all that. And when your moms and grandmothers and aunts and the ladies in your life would make it, they always added that extra special ingredient that just no one else can put in a box and
That's
repackage it and sell. And that's called, they made it with hands of love just for
that's
you.
right.
Oh my goodness. Hey, one of these days I'm gonna get this bandage off my finger.
Well,
You know?
maybe.
Yeah. They said I hadn't been hadn't been good enough. That's one of the things about being 73. You don't heal quite as fastly as you did, 50 years ago for some reason. I think we forgot how to heal. Maybe that's part of it. Oh, you're supposed to be healing over there.
Right?
But very, very thankful. That could have been a lot worse. But also to listen up. We're talking about teens. This is the National Drug and Alcohol Facts Week. You have to be up to date on drug and alcohol facts. You got to communicate with your kids. And it's still sad, but there's so many people of all ages who will try drugs as a recreational thing, and
Hmm.
then bam,
They're hooked for
they're,
life.
yes. I mean, my goodness, I just, as much money's been spent, and spending money, like programs and stuff like that is good, but grassroots reality of sitting down and talking about these things, that's where it starts.
Well, and if I can add my 2 cents,
Sure.
talked about it on the show before. So one of my children is an addict
Hmm.
and recovering, but it's always a slow process, and you're recovering forever.
Hmm.
But the real bottom line is when they dive into it and do it over and over and over again, there's an underlying issue, Jim.
Hmm.
There is an emotional something that they are trying to bury in the use of drugs.
Trying to escape, huh?
And so it's really important to pay super close attention to your children, talk often to them, and watch for any kind of behavioral differences.
Yes, ma'am. Because it's amazing how much pressure, peer pressure, is put on young people, especially teenagers and stuff like that.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're a chicken if you don't try this, and I mean that's just the tip of the iceberg there. But my goodness gracious, I feel sorry for any and everybody that has any family member or anyone that is enslaved to drugs and alcohol.
Absolutely.
I really, truly am, because we've experienced that in our house, in our family. A lot of people do not know it, but my dad was addicted to barbiturates. And that's because of what I saw him go through, that automatically filtered me away from ever wanting to try drugs or anything like that. My dad almost got electrocuted in 1954 he climbed the pole and 72,000 volts hit him and knocked him off the pole, and his heart stopped 3 times on the way to the hospital, but his back was really in bad shape. So he got hooked on barbiturates in the hospital there, and from 6 at night till 6 in the morning, he would take as many as 11 and 12 of those barbiturates a night. A night, ladies and gentlemen, 7 days a week. He had several prescriptions. Back then, they wasn't as strict on prescriptions, but you know, I had an uncle that was well known for 2 things: painting and drinking, not necessarily in that order.
Right.
So,
right.
you know, I've seen it, and just like Donna's experienced some of it in her family, everybody, I think, to some degree can look at somewhere and say, you know, this person had a drug problem, or this person had an alcohol problem, or something of this nature.
I don't think at this day and age, Jim, there is a person, a family that isn't touched somewhere.
Oh, yeah, you're
Because
right.
it's so widespread. And unfortunately, the cartels are bringing drugs in by the billions.
And if people just said no and just stopped using it, they wouldn't have a market up here. They wouldn't be bringing them up here. Goodness gracious, that's what gets me. Yeah, we have the power to say no. And we need to encourage people to say no to drugs. My goodness, especially our young people. My goodness gracious, because, you know, when you're 20-something years of age, or you're in your teenage years or whatever, you don't know anything about life and living.
Nope.
You think you do, but you don't.
Right.
I mean, there's more to life than, you know, having a good time.
Right.
And we're going to be talking about that on the other side of the coin, taxes, today. But, you know, so we're going to go from the penthouse down to the outhouse.
Right. Oh, goodness. Taxes.
This is something that young people need to be aware of, because I remember a few years back, one of my grandchildren, they did not file their income tax, and they didn't have health insurance. So the big check they thought they were getting back, they were penalized because they didn't buy health insurance, and they lost their refund.
Right. And, you know, it's one of those things that we have to file our taxes, and usually our parents help us when we're young and at home. But here's the thing. What happens, Jim, when our teenagers go out on their own?
There's no one there to tell them, and they don't think about taxes.
Right.
They really don't. April 15th comes, it's just another day. They may hear tax day or something on the radio or whatever, or see it on the media or something, but it means nothing to them.
Right.
And the IRS is not, ignorance with them is not a defense.
Well, and here's the thing. So understand this. If you owe taxes, they will be after you. I mean, like, as Jim says, a hound dog at a picnic. Okay. But if they owe you money, I guarantee you're going to sit a while. I have friends who, and in my family as well, money has been owed since 2019.
Yes.
And they haven't released it yet.
Yeah. They can make you feel like a beggar at a rich man's gate for something that belongs to you. They don't understand that that's your money. And, paying taxes is something we all have to do. It's the law. And, if you don't pay your taxes, you're setting yourself up for fail. And if I may share a personal experience with me, I had a situation back in 95, 6, somewhere along in there, with this guy at the IRS. For some reason, he picked my company, and he just, he was going to take me to the cleaners, IRS agent. And I had now the guy that filed my taxes was the same guy that set up the legal things for Compact Computer. So he was a pretty smart guy.
Right.
And so, long story short, it took me over 3 months. I filed a congressional complaint against the IRS. And when I did, here in the United States, I'm speaking, there were three things. There were three boxes there. Okay, you explain what happened, what you want, and all that stuff. And I put down there, I says, I want the investigation to continue because I've got nothing to hide. Number two, I want this individual removed from the audit due to his Gestapo tactics.
Right.
He was brutal to me over the phone. Mm-hmm. And the third thing that I asked for is for him to be officially written up in his personnel folder.
Right.
And that stays with him for as long as he's with the federal government. And see, there's a moral to that story, and that's this. If you're going to start a fight with somebody, you better know who you start a fight with. You might think you got a little chihuahua there on your hands, and you might have a bulldog.
Right. Well, and something else to understand that when, just like if you owe the IRS money and
Mm-hmm.
you don't pay it for a set amount of time, you're paying penalties and interest on that money.
Yes.
So say it was $500 may turn into $1,000 in about that much time. Now, the same is true. So if the IRS owes you money or the state, they have to pay the interest, not the penalties, but they have to pay the interest in the time that it was taken care of to the time that they cut that check. So
yes,
make
ma'am.
sure that interest is in there because that's your money. They held on to it. And by law, they have to pay you for it.
And also to teach your kids how important it is to keep accurate records. You got to keep it for at least 3 years. Okay.
I thought it was 7.
It could be, but I mean, check with your tax people and let them know that, because if I did not have accurate records,
right,
when I got that audit, they would have took me to the cleaners. And the fact of it was, there was a debate at the very end. They thought I owed them $50.
Wow.
I'm not making this up. And my guy, Earl, the tax guy, he says, no, you owe Mr. Grant $50. Oh, okay, I can see what you're saying there. Well, based on everything he's been through, let's just call it even. And Earl, we got into, I'm going to tell a little story here because it's kind of funny. Earl and I got in the elevator there at the IRS building. We were waiting for it, and he said, you've been audited now 3 times, and they haven't found anything. He says, Jim, you could be as crooked as a snake, and all you got to file is holler discriminating. They're discriminating against me, and they couldn't touch you for, I said, Earl, I don't even want to go there. I just want to pay my fair share, not a penny more. And we get in the elevator, and there's these other, I guess they're IRS employees, because I looked at it, Earl, and I says, if you hadn't turned Candyman in there and got my $50, I'd have bought you lunch.
Nice.
And we're cracking up laughing, and they're thinking, well, what are these guys laughing at? They're supposed to come out of here,
Right.
But but the key to that was you've got to keep accurate records when you file your taxes, and you got to keep those whether you want to or not. If you keep them, chances are you don't need them. But if you don't keep them and you do need them, you're at their mercy.
Right.
You really are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a few statistics here.
Okay.
This is what we found. Now, this was 2019. Okay. that the Internal Revenue Service processed more than 253 million tax returns and collected more than $3.5 trillion in revenue. 3.5 trillion in revenue.
Wow.
Right?
That's staggering.
Yeah, it is. So obviously individuals and businesses are expected to file tax returns. So there is a process to go through, obviously, on what deductions and credits you can claim, and how much they underpaid or overpaid. So a little story. There was a time in my life when I was real close on the tax bracket for the federal, right? When I was out in the working world. So I just added an extra $20 every pay period to ensure that I wouldn't be owing that, for federal tax returns. So there's lots of little ways that you can offset your things if that becomes an issue.
Also, too, you need to let your teens and your young folks know that, if they make $10,000, I think it's $9,950 or less, the marginal tax rate, this is the minimum when they say marginal, is 10%. If they make $9,951 or more, this is for single or married filing separately, it's 12%. If they make $40,526 or more, it's 22%. If they make $86,000, $376 or more, is 24%. Then the next one at $164,000, it jumps up to 32%. At $209,000, it jumps up to 35%. And then $523,000 or more, 37%. And if you don't have proper deductions, that's just, the flat percent is what you're going to pay.
Right.
And you should also teach them how to look for tax shelters, how to, if they donate money to nonprofits, that's deductible from those percentages there. There's a lot of things that they need to do. They need to sit down and just talk to a third party who is a tax, person who can educate them. And again, Donna, I think that would be a great thing for, people to get a tax expert who can communicate with teenagers. Okay. Not a monotone individual, because he'll put them to sleep, but someone that can make taxes interesting so they could understand what the road lies ahead for them, and do it in a classroom or do it in a conference hall or whatever, because there's businesses that will, and places where you can get free rooms for that, and make it fun. Bring in some, bring in some refreshments and things like that. Maybe even play a game or two, like Two Lies and One Truth, to break up the monotony, because taxes is about as much fun as getting a root canal. Let's be honest. That I woke up this morning, Donna, and how crazy I am. I thought about that 2 truths and 1 lie. Can you imagine if you wanted to have fun on a weeknight, or not a weeknight, but on the weekend? You have some people, get together, and the purpose of it is to, have a little scary party,
right?
And tell 2 true stories that's scary, and then one that's you make up,
right?
And then at nighttime, everybody's in the room. They turn all the lights off. You got one candle, and they pass the candle around. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
That would be.
Anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're going to be talking about taxes now. I'm trying to liven up the show a little bit because it keeps me from crying.
Right. Yeah, taxes, so much fun. So, there's obviously a W-2 when your children get the W-2, and as adults, we all know this, the W-2 or a 1099. So say that they work for somebody for a summer and they weren't really on the payroll, and they have a 1099. That's an income source besides W-2 that I believe it's anything over $599, 600 and over is when you get a 1099.
I think so. Yeah.
So there's all different kinds of forms, but understanding that those forms need to be kept, and that you have to have those, and they have to be in the proper sequence. So filing, with teenagers, I remember my dad sitting down with me and doing my first tax form together, right? He always did his own taxes, etc. So, he showed me step by step. This is why, this is how you do it, a simple tax form. And that's what most teens are going to start out with.
Right. But they need to be aware of the fact as they go up in the income brackets, they got to get a little smarter because it's their money. They have every right to hang on to every legitimate dollar right down to the penny. Pay exactly the tax that they owe and not one penny more. And that is why it's so critical for them to understand down the road that, taxes got to be paid, and to be able to have someone who is a subject matter expert can sit there and explain it to them.
Right.
Because a third party is amazing when it comes to teenagers.
Well, and when you are, in all honesty, this is my opinion, but in all honesty, when you are young and you don't have a lot of deductions, you don't have, you have simple things, doing your own taxes on like a TurboTax or something like that is fairly easy to do. As we get older and we have lots of different deductions, sometimes it's more advantageous to have a tax person do your taxes because the dadgum laws for the taxes change quicker than I can change my clothes every single day.
There's always, new laws and adjustments and all that we don't know, we're not aware of. And so that's why it's important to, like H&R Block, people, and we don't get anything from them, but go to, subject matter experts, your local tax accountant, talk to them, and they'll give you a free consultation, and especially kids and stuff like that. In fact, I think they would love to sit down in front of a group of kids and be able to, talk to them and pass out their cards. If you ever need any help, got any questions, let me know, and da-da-da-da-da. That'd be investing in themselves, but it'd also be a great time for your kids to learn that taxes is something that cannot be avoided.
Nope.
They send people to prison for not paying taxes. Well, I heard that.
And to cite an example about the rules that change that the IRS lets out every year, it was probably 2 months ago. Are you ready for this one?
Okay.
I'm not making this up. It's a gospel truth. The IRS now has put in taxes that if you have stolen property and it's over X amount of dollars, you need to put that in your taxes so you can be charged. Now, my question is, who in the Sam Ham world was bright enough to come up with that? Because there ain't a thief out there who's going to put that on their tax forms. If you're a proper thief, they probably don't even file taxes.
Oh, I mean, whoever came up with that one, don't quit your day job. You'll starve to death.
In fact, if you're still working for him, maybe you should quit your day job and get a different job.
Yeah.
Oh,
but if you got stolen, oh my goodness gracious, that. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's your sign.
Yeah, that's kind of like, here's your sign, right? I forgot about those old days. Yeah, here's your sign. But man,
oh my goodness,
it's pitiful for someone to be that ignorant.
Right?
It really is.
I mean, hello. So of course, some of the things you need is your filing status. Whether you're, single, married, etc. Whether you're claiming the standard deductions, whether anyone can claim you as a dependent. Now, that can be a sticky wicket, if they're going to school and parents claim, but they still make a certain amount of money and they have to file taxes. So that's one that you should definitely be looking into hard and close. Of course, your address, your date of birth, spouse, if you are married, details about dependents you're claiming. Of course, you have to have Social Security, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's amazing because there's people who try to beat the system. And the problem of it is, I don't care how smart they are, they cannot beat the system. And what's funny, if you look at history, Al Capone, they tried their best to catch him and put him in prison. But you know what he went to prison for?
Tax evasion.
Tax evasion. He sure did.
Tax evasion.
Oh, yeah, they got him. They got him.
Couldn't get him on anything else, even though they knew he was guilty of sin. He ran circles around them.
Oh, yeah. But see, even him and all his people that were able to keep him out of jail and keep him out from getting charged, they could not outsmart or outdo the IRS, because the IRS does things very quietly when they change rules and stuff. And it's up to you to find out what those rule changes are.
Right.
And to be honest with you, it's kind of like if you're going down the road and you're driving in a 55-mile-an-hour zone, and you're, listening to the radio or watching, something else, and you pass a sign that you don't see. It says reduced. Notice it doesn't say reduce. It says reduced speed ahead, which means already past tense. And it's 45, and you're sailing along, and police picks you up and pulls them behind you, pulls you over, and you go like, well, I didn't see that sign. Ignorance of the law is never a defense.
Right. Right.
Depending on how that cop feels, he may or may not write you a ticket, but ignorance of the law is never a defense. And if you don't know about taxes, and a lot of kids don't, I didn't know about that. Well, that's not a defense.
Right.
The IRS does not care.
No, and also understanding about your state taxes. Now, this is a big one, because 43 states here in the United States have state taxes. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's several who don't. Mm-hmm. But each state has its own regulation. So, for an example, when I first moved back from Ohio back to Arizona, when I did my taxes, let me tell you what, it was a hot nightmare is what it was, because I had taxes from Ohio and taxes from Arizona. Yeah. So I was pulling my hair out when I was doing my taxes. And of course, I had moving expenses and all of that. So, I mean, it came out okay in the wash, mind you. But, when you're dealing with two different states, boy, howdy, that can be a rough one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. And I remember when I lived in Arizona, of course, this is prior to us moving to Texas back in 1990. But prior to that, the Arizona state tax was always 10% of what you paid the federal. And it seemed like that stuck in my mind. Here in Texas, we have federal income tax. Obviously, all states do, but we do not have any Texas state tax. And one of the things you want to stress with your kids, your teenagers, your young people, is how they can avoid very common and costly mistakes when they file their taxes.
Right.
Receipts are important. Now, if they give, let me give an example. If they give $500 in cash to a charity, okay, and they don't get a receipt for it, they probably would right there. But if they don't get a receipt for it, or if they lose it or whatever, I gave $500 to this charity. The IRS, okay, where's your receipt? I lost it. So what?
Right.
And they don't take you on your word. Everything's got to be legit. Everything has to be written down. Everything's got to be in black and white.
Right.
And that's important for them to keep accurate records and to understand what's tax deductible and what isn't tax deductible. And because a lot of kids just don't, they just figure, well, my employer takes out my FICA taxes and all that, and I'm good to go. And that's not true. That's not true at all. I remember when I was starting to work, I was still in high school. I was working 8 hours a day and still going to school. I was on a work program there. It wasn't like a work release program or anything like that, even though I probably should have been there. But
Jim's at the post office, folks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Had a real good looking picture of me down there with a beautiful long number under my chin there. But it was, they had this DE, which was distributive education, and they had FICA. And I'm not FICA. I can't remember it. You think I'd remember it since I was in the club. But, I wasn't the smartest kid in school, you might say. But I was allowed to work. I was only supposed to work 4 hours and go to school 4 hours, but I fudged, went to school from 8 to 12, and I worked from 2 to 10. So, they told me that they may, that I was getting in trouble there. And I said, well, that's no problem. I'll just quit school. So then they kind of like turned to, well, let's just let him go away. I was an exception.
Turned a blind eye, did they?
Yeah. And they ignored me, which was fine with me. But because when I filed my taxes, my dad started talking to me and said, son, you got to file some taxes.
Mm-hmm.
What for? Well, you got to file income tax. You work and got income.
Right.
And I didn't have any deductions. So that was my first learning experience the hard way, that if I don't have proper deductions, I'm going to pay taxes.
Right.
That's it. Plain simple. Right. It's a wake-up call.
It is. So understanding that, and the deductions are absolutely huge. And here's something else. It is really imperative, depending on how much your child makes, to understand how much, if you're going to be over or under again in your percentage, right?
Yeah.
Whew, that one can smart.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, if it looks like they're going to be over, you can add extra amount taken out of your check to cover it for both state and federal. And that way, you're not going to be owing the IRS any money, because I know I've owed money in the past, both state, both federal. And I got to be honest with you, that just is a dang sour pill to swallow.
Oh, yeah, it really is. Because, as you give it out, have it deducted from your paycheck, every time you get paid, you adjust automatically to what's left.
Right.
But if you don't, you're going to use that money up. Let's be honest. It's going to get used up. It's going to get consumed. And then you're talking about paper profit, because you're supposed to have X number of dollars left and it's not there.
Right.
That's paper profit. The same is true in business, because your money's always turning over and over and over,
Right.
And
sometimes it's going out faster than it comes in.
Oh, isn't that the truth? It's kind of like when I did business with those Fortune 500 companies and all that, and they pay in 60, 90 days and stuff like that. I used to always think, man, if I just had this accounts receivable in my bank, I would be, I'd be out of debt. I'd be whistling Dixie. I'd be this, that, and the other. But the way it works, it just keeps rolling like that. And that's just the way life is. The world turns that way for your teenagers too.
It does.
And coming up with a bunch of money to pay their taxes, they have then they're at a beggar to rich man's gate, because they got to file for extensions. They got to do all these other things, and they'll have to pay interest if they're late. I mean, it just really complicates their life big time.
Right. So something else that I was going through here and reading, if I recall correctly, the first time you file taxes, you have to mail them in. You cannot put it on e-filing.
Yeah, e-file. I'm not sure about
I'm not 100%, but it sticks in my mind.
We didn't have e-file back when I first started filing, so I didn't know.
Well, because they don't have a record of you, and so the e-filing. So, but after that, I do e-filing, and it's then when the money comes back into my account, boom, it's automatically there.
Yeah.
And it makes it so much quicker, because you're bypassing that backlog of the, snail mail.
Yeah.
Even though those have to be, whether you e-file or not, your tax returns have to be signed and sent back by mail.
Yes. There's that. Plus, there's a couple of things there. Number one, it can't get lost. Number two, it's much quicker, and you don't have to worry about some thief stealing your refund check. And it's just a lot of advantages there. But I'm not sure. I imagine that's true. You gotta physically fill it in or whatever, and check with the tax specialist with that.
Absolutely.
There are so many good tax companies out there who specialize that, been doing it for years, and they'll be more than happy to help you and answer your kid's question. And like I say, a third party telling your teenager something has a lot more clout than you, especially someone that knows what they're doing. That's important for them to get the right information at the right time, to be able to adjust and, understand what they got to, what requirements they have as being a citizen here in the United States.
Right.
Excuse me. And around other places of the world, I mean, I'm sorry if you can't pay taxes. But if you want to pay my taxes, I'll let you. I mean, if you want to donate to a worthy cause, I mean, I'll let you. I'll give you a receipt for it too.
Oh, Jim, you're too much today. You're too much today.
Well, this is National Goof Off Day. I mean, I got hello.
Right. I could leave now and just let you just keep going.
Well, if you left now, Don, with your dynamic charm and your personality,
Yeah,
a lot of people would be leaving the show too. But here, it's so important for us to educate our kids and talk to them, because goodness gracious, with all the things they're faced with, we talked earlier about this being the National Week for learning about drugs and alcohol and talking with your kids. Here again, it's great if you could get a subject matter expert in a room and have other kids come in and talk to them, because now it's not mom and dad. And the same thing is true with taxes. The same thing is true with any type of counseling like that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, be proactive, because your kids are like all the other kids, and they're living in the same world, and they're living under the same pressures and all that. And they're also living, don't tell them I said this, but they're also living in the same ignorance. Okay. I mean, they just don't know. And because they don't know, they don't care. I mean, did I care about paying taxes when I was 17, working 8 hours a day, going to school? No.
Right.
I don't think I could spell taxes back then.
Well, and it just occurred to me, Jim, and I think this is really, really, really important to point out.
Okay.
It is imperative for your children to understand the basics of filing taxes and what it should be, because there are cases where tax preparers make mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
So if they have no idea what they're doing and what they're looking for, and to be able to run numbers, and they take their taxes to somebody else who maybe just was super tired, super busy, whatever the case may be, and they didn't put the information in correctly, and they overpaid or underpaid, that is where your children need to be really on the lookout.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, taxes is like your health. You got to be in charge of it.
Right.
You got to be proactive in that. And if not, you're going to pay the price. I mean, you abuse your health, guess what? You'll pay the price. I mean, it's just one of those things.
And now you make me feel bad, Jim.
Well, I'm the one that had open heart surgery and 4 bypasses, and
Well, we had bacon last night for dinner. We had breakfast for dinner.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you save me some?
No.
Oh, okay.
Hey, it's bacon. I don't say bacon for anybody.
There you go. There you go. There you go. I hear you. I tell you, it's one of the things that I do, because Donna and I are both coffee lovers. Let's talk a little bit about something fun for a while. How about some coffee? Okay, there she is. And the only reason why Donna agreed to do this show with me, because she's allowed to drink on the job. But, in the morning when I get up, this is kind of like a nicety to know, because I had a, heart attack on Halloween night, and my cholesterol levels were good. My blood pressure was good. And so what's going on? Okay. And one of the things that I've learned that's really good for you after having this 8-inch incision on my chest and 4 new pipes, veins that took out my legs, every morning when I get up, I have 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and I put it in a glass of water. And while my coffee's brewing, I drink that. And that will help you. Actually, if you drink water when you first get out of bed in the morning, it helps you lose weight, because that's what the Orientals do. And of course, apple cider vinegar. I mean, I think that's probably the most common thing, natural thing that people know about, because it's got a zillion uses in the house, around the house, in your body, all over.
Right.
But it makes you feel good, and it's good for your heart. It's just good for you, period. And then you can enjoy, your coffee. And then it's coffee time. That's when you treat yourself to coffee, So I wanted to share that with you folks because, I didn't know anything was wrong. Good blood pressure and cholesterol level was 76 last time I had it checked. And when I was in the hospital after my heart attack, it was 96. So, there was no real telltale signs. But the thing of it is that if you prepare, now for your life, just like you teach your kids how to prepare their life for taxes and so on and so forth. But, being able to use the apple cider vinegar and water, it is a blessing for you. It really is.
Right.
And now let's drink some coffee.
I do love my coffee.
Actually, you know what I got in this glass here?
What's that?
Apple cider vinegar and iced tea.
Nice.
Yeah. I just got to where I'm starting to like it. I'm getting addicted to it, you might say.
You're silly. You're silly.
But if it likes me, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to love it back, Donna, when it comes to, let's talk a little bit about a charity, how important it is to give to a charity. Because teenagers, when it comes to taxes and stuff like that, giving to a charity, it's a win-win situation. It really is, because it enables you to be, able to give back. And that's always a blessing. And it's amazing how, whenever you give the charities, pick a charity of your choice, something that's down, it means a lot to you in your heart.
To your heart.
Yes. And, it's amazing. Donna, I think you're having some internet trouble there. So if you need to sign off or anything, or, your picture faded there a little bit, no offense, but if you need to take care of that, that's no problem. Okay. So I saw our picture kind of freeze there a little bit. But when it comes to charities, we have a wonderful charity that we donate to. In fact, we donate to several charities. It's so important to donate to charities, to give back to others. Not only is it a tax deductible, and you don't do it for the taxes, you do it to help others. And we give, like I say, several charities. My wife gives us a couple of charities I just found out about, which is fine, but I didn't know about them. She says, yeah, I got them on an automatic deduct. Ever, whatever date it is on the month, money gets transferred from our bank account, the checking account, to the charity, which is a good thing. And in teaching kids how to give back, maybe they don't have much money, okay? But kids normally love animals. I say kids, they're teenagers, okay? I'm 73. A 19-year-old is a kid to me, okay? But what's really important is the fact that they could also donate their time. Now, this is not, tax deductible, but it's important for them to donate their time. And they could do it at animal shelters, places like that, because they always need help. They could also buy food for the animal shelter for dogs and things like that. There is such a zillion ways they can get involved in their community. And that's really important, because teaching kids how to give back to their community is something that we, a lot of times, let's be honest, we don't give back to our community until we get older, uglier, and sometimes retired. And I'm not saying it's not a good thing to do it when you get old and retired, but it's something we should be doing when we're younger too. And Donna, I was just talking about giving back to the community, and Kids may not have much money, but they could also give back to animal shelters with their labor, or if they want to buy food for the animal shelter, that's tax deductible.
Absolutely.
And I made the comment too that many times in life we're just, we wait till we start giving back to our community when we're old, and it shouldn't be that way. We should do it. Start teaching young kids how to give back to their community when they're younger.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And there's so many different organizations out there that need help.
Yeah, because
so whatever it is that your child that really sings to them, that really pulls on their heartstrings, have them donate to it. And it doesn't even have to be a lot. But then that is something that they get accustomed to by giving back. They learn huge valuable lessons with that, of course. And then they get that write-off on their taxes. So you know what? They have not only touched so many lives by doing that, they've enhanced their own life, and that they can help save on their taxes.
Yes, ma'am. It's a win-win-win situation there, because everybody loves and they want to be appreciated. In fact, I teach a course on LLAR. It's actually just a brief, probably about a 30-minute course on LLAR. The first L stands for love. Everybody wants to be loved. The second L, everybody wants to be liked. The third letter, A, stands for appreciation. Everybody wants to be appreciated.
Yep.
And the R stands for respect. And that is something right across the line. Even I've got relatives that we disagree on political issues, or political leanings. There's not a problem with that, because I love them, I like them, I appreciate their opinion, I respect them. But, I'm not going to let something like that destroy our relationship, because it's not worth it.
Right.
Because nothing is worth destroying love over. Nothing on planet Earth. I mean, I don't care who you are, what you think it is, or whatever, but because love is just so precious. And teaching your kids to love, to give back to their community and participate in something that just resonates with them, and being able to get a tax deduction, that's the right attitude. It's the only attitude to have, really,
Right, because, it's just for me, with my children, they always grew up with animals. And it taught them, obviously I'm a big animal lover, but it taught my children how to be responsible and give to something other than themselves. And so the same way goes with, a donation to a cause that they love, whatever that cause may be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember as a boy growing up, my mother got mad at me because we had just got a little baby goat kid, and I invited the kid and the little baby goat, into the house to spend the night with me. It wasn't able to. We were not able to fulfill that, but at least my heart was in the right place. Mother says, "Out!
Oh my goodness!
Get that animal out of here!"
Right. I remember as a little kid, this is a funny little story. When I was really young, probably 6, 7 years old, there was the terminology catnappers. It was people who were robbing. But in my mind, I took it as they were going around and robbing people of their cats. So my mother comes in one night in my room, and I'm kind of turtled over, right? On my knees, and I've got my arms like this. And she says, "Sweetheart, what are you doing?" And I started crying, and I said, "I'm not going to let those catnappers take my tie."
Oh, that's cute, Donna. And nowadays, with her clatter of cats, as spoiled as she got them, if them catnappers took all 4 of them, they'd bring them back.
They probably would. Oh, Lord. They're a mess.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Donna, we're out of time.
We are just about out of time. This has been really fun. And Jim and I sincerely hope that, this week our talking about skills for teens
Oh,
is
yeah.
is a good reminder, for things that we grew up with. We get so dadgum busy in
Mhm.
our world that we forget sometimes that our teens need help because the way we grew up isn't the same world anymore. It's all about
Mm-mm.
the academics, and there's no, very little, I should say, real life application in school.
Oh, yeah. And tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be covering things on how to fill out a job application and the big things on resume. We're going to teach them some things that going to be some nicety to knows, like the two words, so what?
Right.
Donna and I, we talk a lot about the speakers and stuff like that because the speaker wants to talk about themselves, da 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 da. Well, so what? So what if that is interest to someone that's reading it or listening to it? So how do
Right.
you stand out in front of the other competition that just lists down, their titles of, their graduate titles and all that, what they graduated in, what they majored in, and all that. And there is an art to that,
Right.
and we're
And
going
there's
to
an
cover
art
that
to
tomorrow.
interviews, and there is an art
Oh
to
yeah,
how to dress
body
and
language,
body language. Whoo, is that a big one? That's a
huh?
big one.
You talking to me, huh?
Jim's
But
an
yeah.
expert on it, folks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like we were playing golf one time, and we were having a lot of fun out there. And this guy said something to me. And I said, "Well, I have young man. They've actually took films of me teeing off and golfing and things like that." And he says, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "They show this to everybody and said this is what you don't do on a golf course."
Nice. Nice. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, Donna.
I
I
am
really am.
too.
It's going to be a fun time because a lot of the stuff that we cover, is just stuff you don't hear about other places. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in and making our show so popular because it's because of you we got invited to have our own app on Roku and Amazon Fire. And it's really, I was used to blame it on Donna, so it was her fault. But Donna says no. She's like, we got to give credit to our people out there who watch the show. So Donna, thank
Absolutely.
you, Ian, for being a big part of that too, because you certainly are, and appreciate you, young lady.
Well, appreciate you, Jim. We make an amazing team.
Yes, ma'am, we do. And I'd like to we got to do a show on how energy comes to you because Donna, the floodgates have been opened on us.
Oh yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Daily.
Hmm. Yes,
Daily.
ma'am. And the beauty of it is when your energy comes your way, and how you can open up the gate for yourself to be on the receiving end of it. The stuff that's come to us, we didn't even think about it.
Right.
We accidentally tripped. The one thing I tripped over,
Yeah.
flat dab tripped over. And so we want to share that with you, and we'll get into that. We're going to cover that that'd be a good thing for a week,
It would be. It would be.
Or at
But folks, we are
least
out of time.
at least a month of Sundays anyway. Again, we'd like to close with saying thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you and your loved ones are blessed in all areas of your life. It is our prayer in our heart that you are blessed in all areas of your life. Your family is healthy and happy and safe. And thank you again. We'll be back tomorrow. Love yourself and be sure and forgive yourself. Then you can love others. We'll see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.